Hello, my name is Rob Truby. I live in Windsor, Colorado, and I love electric bikes like you probably do too, and that's why you're watching yet another review. I've got a new bike to share with you, and I think you'll be excited about it. It's pretty unique, so here it is. This is the Cyberbike Raptor, the 2024 edition Cyberbike. This is their top model, and I've really fallen in love with it. I've got probably a little over 150 miles on the bike. I think it's great looking. It's full suspension. It's got a dropper seat post. It's very smooth and extremely quiet, and I really like that. So let me talk a little bit about the bike before we take it for a test ride. All right, well, here's the good parts about this bike. It's outfitted well. It is full suspension, as you can see. It's got 10 speeds, which is nice. I wish it had 12. We'll talk a little bit about that later while we're riding. And there were some things I had to do to this bike, or wanted to do to this bike, like all of us, to make it my own. I changed the seat out. I really prefer this seat over the one that comes with the bike. I do think the bike comes with a decent seat, but I think a seat is very personal, so you got to expect that. I changed the grips, again, very personal. I changed the stem. This is a much shorter stem than what comes with the bike, or what came with this bike, and I'm a lot more comfortable with the shorter stem. Got a water bottle and a water bottle cage way up here, which is a very convenient place to grab the water bottle, which I've never had that before, and I'm liking that. And with the seat post, the dropper post, I'm dropping that and I can get on and off really easily, which at my age is a pleasure, let me tell you. So the bike has inverted forks. You can read about all the specs. They have an extremely technical website, tons of detail, more than you probably want, but if you want it, it's there. So inverted forks, they're called Wolf E-Spec. You know, I don't know how much you might know about Wolf as far as their components. This bike has Wolf components throughout. So far so good. I've been happy with it. Maxxis tires, been happy with that. I put a Tannis armor in them because, as you can see, where I live, we've got a lot of goat heads and a lot of thorns, and I just find a lot of freedom in putting Tannis armor. I've had incredible luck with that. I also put in some new pedals. These are P&W pedals. I've been really happy with them. The pedals that come with the bike, quite honestly, are not very good. So here's a look at the rear derailleur. Again, it's functioned well. Probably nothing you've heard of, but it's been good. It's not perfect, but it's good. There's the Wolf logo, as you can see, on the 4-piston brakes, which is nice. There's a little look at the suspension here, rear suspension. And here's kind of a treat, I think. You don't see this in bikes for this price point. This bike is a $2,800 bike. So a lot of people would expect to pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a bike like this, but not this bike. So there's the screen. Now it's off right now, but that's your display, and it's built into the frame. And the negative about that is it's small. You can see it, but it is small. The positive is it's not taking up handlebar space. It doesn't scream, hey, look at me, I'm an e-bike. And the motor is incredibly quiet. I mean, really, just about silent unless you're really cranking on it. Let me see if I can show them. It's called a Star Union. Again, this bike has parts on it that you probably haven't heard of. That's what gets it to the $2,800 price point. But it all comes down to performance for me. And so far, so good. The motor has a 3-year warranty, which is pretty unprecedented in my opinion. I haven't heard of a 3-year warranty on an e-bike motor. It comes with a headlight, and it works pretty well. They also sell I forget, it's called a triple beam light, but I'm probably getting that wrong, but I'm not really into it. It's really big, really clunky. It's basically just 3 of these mounted together. I mean, it is brighter. It's 3 times as bright, but it's really not a lot of fun to have on the bike, in my opinion, but you might love it, so go for it. I know the hubs are really good hubs. You can read about that on the website. The rotors are large. I believe they're 203 millimeters. Again, read all these specs on the website. I'm really more about the functionality of the bike, what it's like to own it, what it's like to ride it, and why would you want it. And let me tell you why you'd want it. I think you'd want it because it kind of can do everything. It's a great bike path bike. It's a great road bike because it has a top speed of 31 miles per hour, but it's also a legitimate mountain bike. So if you wanted to dial this down and change the max speed, you could, to make it a class 1 bike at 20 miles per hour. Or if you're like almost everybody on a mountain bike in the woods, on the trails, you're really rarely hitting above 20 miles per hour anyway, so it might not even be an issue. But this bike also has a throttle that it comes with. I did remove the throttle. I took the throttle off just because I wasn't using it, and I found it to be kind of in the way when I use the dropper post. I'm using the dropper post constantly, and I really wasn't using the throttle. The throttle was less than overwhelming. I mean, it was a little bit blah, like it wasn't getting much power. I didn't really see the benefit of it like I do on some of my other bikes, particularly my fat tire bike. So this bike compares in price to the Event and Rambless at about $2,800. Now the Event and Rambless is not a full suspension bike. It is a hardtail. And let me tell you a little bit more about the Rambless compared to this bike. The Rambless has a very, very powerful motor, and that is fantastic. It is a blast to ride. You can scream up really any hill that you can have traction on, you're going to go up it. This bike is not as powerful as the Event and Rambless. And the Event and Rambless motor, it's loud. It's even clunky. But I still love it. I love that bike. I do own it. And I would choose that bike over this bike if I'm going specifically mountain biking, particularly where there's a lot of inclines, just a lot of terrain that I'm going to be climbing. It's a lighter bike. It's a more powerful bike. And it's just a little bit simpler bike. I don't know how to put it. But the motor combination with the Event and Rambless is really impressive. You almost don't even change gears. You just push down harder on the pedals. These are both torque sensors, but the torque sensor on the Rambless is quite remarkable, quite honestly. But it's a little bit like comparing apples and oranges, just because one's a hardtail and one is a full suspension. One is class 1, one is class 3. The Rambless, the motor cuts out at 20 miles per hour, which can be a bummer, especially when you're on the road and you're commuting, or you're just trying to get into town, or you just want to go fast, because going fast is fun. So you'll have to make your own decision. They're both high quality bikes. I can tell you this, I have an Event, I have several of them. Right now it is very difficult to get them on the phone. Really, it's impossible to get Event on the phone. Your email will get returned in about a week or two. I just ordered a part from them. It takes a couple of weeks for the part to go in the mail. Cyberbike, totally different story. You can chat with them. I guarantee you within 3 minutes of chatting with Cyberbike, you're going to be talking to a human being in the United States that knows all about Cyberbike. They work for Cyberbike. You can talk to tech support. You can call them. They will pick up the phone. They'll answer your questions. They're a very small company, but they're very knowledgeable. So I really appreciate that. I'm a big customer service guy, and customer service is kind of a dying art, and Cyberbike does a great job with their customer service. So thank you, Cyberbike. I really do appreciate that. Well, getting back to the bike a little bit, like I said, a lot of fun to ride. Let's take it for a ride right now. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've left out. We'll talk about it on the ride. But overall, I think you would really enjoy this bike. It's a lot of fun. It's got some good components on it, even though you might never have heard of them. They seem to be well built, maybe even overbuilt. And it's nice. It's a good bike. The colors they have to offer are really fantastic. Whoever's doing their color schemes, shout out to them. They're really nice. Just a lot of options. They're good looking, and you know, I think that's part of owning an electric bike, or any bike, or really anything in a hobby that you might enjoy. Do you like looking at it? I mean, it sits in the garage, and you might ride it 1 hour, maybe 2 hours a day if you're lucky, but otherwise you're walking by it, so it's kind of fun to walk by it if it's good looking. So one thing I'll mention is, you know, there's a lot of cables. the cable management is a bit of a thing. So I've worked really hard at that to try to get that managed well so it doesn't look so unwieldy. And I will tell you that the brakes on this bike have cutoff switches. So the motor, when you engage the brakes, the motor will quit. Well, on a mountain bike, I'm not really a big fan of that. So that was a simple fix. I just unscrewed it and pulled it out. So that was good. And then same with the throttle. There's another cable that I don't have up in this area. Now I still have that cable, all three of those cables tucked under here where I don't need to see them, but I haven't really wanted to just yank them yet. So kind of waiting on that. But I probably will just yank them. I want this to be clean. I want it to be simple. So, all right, well, let's go for a ride. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll do the fun part now, which is riding the bike. All right, well, let's go for a ride. That's the fun part. We'll hit some inclines, descents. It'll be fun. So you turn it on right here. And like I said, it's a tiny monitor, tiny display built into the frame, which I've only seen in the past on like a specialized bike or some very expensive bike. So I think that's a cool thing. I like it. It works. It provides a lot of information, probably more than you'd ever want. I'm going to go ahead and start off in 1 and let's get going. There we go. All right. So this has 5 pedal assists. I find myself using all of them. Probably the one I use the least is 4, because when I get to 4, I'm like, I might as well just go to 5. But when my dog's running around next to me, I'm often in 1. Sometimes I'll cruise around in 2. 3 is really a sweet spot. You'll enjoy that. The bike is smooth, it's quiet, it's very fun. I like the geometry of it. It feels very legitimate as far as a mountain bike when you go over these bumps and rocks and everything else. So here we go. Ride it a little bit here. Go to pedal assist 3. Oh, that was on 2. Kind of fun when you look down and you're only on 2 when you thought you were on 3 or 4. I removed the kickstand almost immediately. It rattled around. I think you probably want to do that if you're mountain biking a lot. If you're riding on the road and just enjoying it on bike paths, I think the kickstand's just fine. It can be it's very convenient. So here we go. All right, we got a spot here. I'm going to go up to 5 because this is pretty crazy, right? This spot here. Drop down to 5th gear. I'll be in pedal assist 5 over these rocks. Here we go. And this is very steep right here. So, all right, go down to about 3, and we'll ride here. So, unlike the Rambless, of course, this is a mid-drive torque sensor, but you kind of get what you get in your pedal assist. Harder you push, I don't feel a lot more power. I really don't. I mean, maybe it's incremental, but it's a nice blend though. You're not really, I don't know how to put it. You're comfortable with it. Now this gets really steep. It's probably hard to tell with this angle, but I'm gonna go up to 4. And you feel a nice little punch in the motor. Nice little jump in power. Gonna downshift here. I have found pretty quickly that I wish this was a 12 speed, not a 10 speed. Might be old terminology, but that's what I say, 10 or 12 speed. You know, there's one sprocket in the front. The freewheel will get you to 12, to 10. And the reason I say that is because once you're up over 20 miles per hour, particularly if you're in the 23, 24 and up, you're kind of looking for the 11th or 12th gear, because you start to, pedaling gets a little too easy. Let's ride down this hill. It's just a lot of fun. And you can see this is probably a really good terrain for this bike. Hard pack, single track. I mean, we're headed over some rocks, some brush. Brakes are good. They squeaked on me a little bit. Here, we're gonna go right up over this. So I didn't mention that this is a mullet setup, which means the tire in the front is bigger than the tire in the back, or the wheel in the front's bigger than the wheel in the back. It's a 29er in the front, 27.5 in the rear. And if you think about that geometry, it helps you get up over obstacles a little bit easier. I think if you were inclined to do some serious jumping with this bike and really thrash it around, you know, if you were strong enough and daring enough, I think you could do that. And I think it would hold up, it really would. But it's 63, 64, 65 pounds. It's kind of a lot of bike to be doing that with. So I really think this bike would work very well and probably is going to sell extremely well to your middle-aged man or woman that has been riding a fat tire and is kind of ready for something a little bit more robust, a little bit more mountain bike-esque, but they don't want to give up the versatility of the fat tire, because I think that's why a lot of us fell in love with the fat tire bike, because it's so versatile, including, like, I ride all year. I'll ride this trail right here when there's 6 or 8 inches of snow, and that fat tire allows you to do that. I don't know if I could do that with this bike. Maybe hard pack snow. But my point is that the fat tire is very versatile. And this bike is as well, in the sense that it's perfectly capable. I mean, quite honestly, built for mountain biking, but it's fast and smooth on a paved trail. It's got a good geometry. You could always change out your handlebars too if you wanted to be even sitting upright more than you are. A lot of customization that you can do with the touch points, but it really rolls. I mean, this bike rolls. I'm not pedaling, I'm about 25 miles per hour here. I'm gonna go up this hill here. And it engages with the drivetrain really well. Like I said, I've had no issues with the actual changing gears, upshifting, downshifting. It's been good, it's been solid. I think the Rambless probably shifts a little smoother. It's got, I think, higher end components. But again, you're trading full suspension for a hardtail, higher components for full suspension. I mean, you'll have to figure that out. There's a million reviews on the Rambless. I don't need to talk about that much. You might be hard pressed to find many other reviews about this particular bike right now. So that's why I'm hoping this might be helpful. So this is a UL certified battery / bike. And where that's important is in the state of Colorado, there's a $450 instant rebate. So you can get $450 off any bike you can buy in Colorado if it's UL certified. Now, can you do that with this bike? I don't know if you can do that yet, but I do believe Cyberbike is working on that. And the more people that ask for it, the more likely it will happen. So if you were landing this bike for $2,200, Oh my goodness, what a steal. You can, with your head high, you can head to any mountain biking trail that allows you to ride this bike on. And like I said, just take the throttle off. If your conscience requires it, dial your maximum speed down to 20 miles per hour, and you've got a Class 1 electric mountain bike. But wait, now you want to ride into town, or on a bike path, or cruise all over some really great dirt roads. Dial it up to the top speed of 31 miles per hour and put your throttle on if you want. It only takes a minute, and away you go. It climbs well. It climbs very well. I've climbed some very steep terrain with this bike, and it handled it well. I'm not going to say that I was blown away by the power, because I wasn't. Quite honestly, I think their first Cyberbike was more powerful than this one. But I think this motor might be more dependable, because it is a different motor. So we'll just cruise here for a little bit and some nice blacktop. All right, let's see. Everybody wants to know, how fast will it go? Well, let's find out. I'll hit pedal assist 5, and I'll be fair here and get on a big road. Now I'm 54 years old with arthritis in my knees, so no promises. All right, that's it. We're in 10th gear, and this is where I wish I had 11 or 12. We're doing 26. You can probably see how fast my knees are going. Honestly, going into a headwind, which really can rob you of 1 or 2 miles per hour. I've hit 30, 31 with a slight decline. Now, what's great is that you're not going to lose your motor at 28, 29, 30. Not until 32, I believe. Here's a little inside tech tip. I made a mistake when I got this, and what I did was, like a lot of you guys and girls, as soon as I got this bike, I found out, oh, speed limit. I found it in the settings. And what did I do? Well, I went ahead and put it as high as it would go, 99 kilometers per hour, which I knew it wouldn't go that fast, but I figured I want to get everything I can out of this motor. Well, I was really disappointed, like, oh my goodness, this thing is really quite tame compared to the old Cyberbike. And then I contacted tech support. They picked up right away, and they said, you know, it's a software thing. You need to dial it down to 50 kilometers per hour, which is 31 miles per hour. And somehow the controller interprets that as maximum power. Well, I did that. I got on the bike, and I texted the owner immediately and said, guess what? I've got a different bike now. So he was relieved, and I was relieved, because I bought this thing. This was no gift, I could promise you that. So I was just really pleased about that. All right, you might be wondering about range. Let's talk about range. You can get into the exact percentage of the battery that's left if you go into the menu, which you can't do unless you're stopped. So that's a little bit of a bummer. So what you get for a readout is 5 bars that represent 20% for each bar. What I have found in my experience of maybe 160, 170 miles, that, let's find out exactly. In let's see, 168 miles on the bike. What I have found is that for every bar, I'm getting 10 to 12 miles, and I'm hovering around pedal assist 3. I'm not afraid to jump up to 5, and once in a while I'll hang out in 1 or 2, depending on where I'm riding or who I'm riding with. So I'm going to turn around, the wind's a little brutal. So I'm getting 10 to 12 miles per bar, which tells me, say 10 times 5 is 50. I think that might be a little optimistic, honestly. I'm going to say you're going to get 45 miles that you can count on with this bike. Now, just wait, there's more. Cyberbike has announced a very high capacity battery coming out in about a year. Now, I know that's a long time for some of us to wait, but at least it's coming. So that's encouraging. And who knows with that, if this will do 45-ish, and maybe this will do more. I certainly think you could probably get 60 miles out of this if you're down in pedal assist 1 or 2. But who does that all day? But anyway, the high capacity barrel would be fun. Let's see. All right, well, I think I'm just gonna wrap this up. If you have any questions, feel free to place a comment on the video, and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you have tech questions, I would highly encourage that you talk to Cyberbike. They will actually answer the phone. Isn't that exciting? How neat is that? Anyway, the Cyberbike Raptor, I think it's cyberbike.com. Go check it out. I think you'd be very pleased. It's the right bike for, I think, a lot of people. 2 frame sizes, or 2 sizes, let's just say that. Medium, large, large, extra large. I'm 5'9" with my shoes on, and I'm riding the medium large, and I think it fits perfect. So that's fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoy riding your bike today if you have one. Electric bikes are an incredible blessing. So much fun.